For the longest time, if you wanted a smart speaker, that is a connected speaker with a built-in voice assistant, you had to be content with the Amazon Echo. While it's an insanely popular product and offers the widest compatibility of any competitor, its main problem is it doesn't sound very good. What if you want something that is good at playing tunes? Enter the Apple HomePod. Apple says this is a music speaker first and a smart speaker second. But at $350, is it the best option for the money? For example, for that price, you can get not one, but two Sonos Ones, which also incorporate Amazon Alexa and work in stereo. I compared notes with CNET's own audiophiliac, Steve Guttenberg, to get his take on the smart speaker phenomenon. Now, Steve, you're predominantly a two-channel type of person, yes, but you spent a lot of time with the Apple HomePod. What surprised you about it?
How fussy it was to use, really. I mean, I thought it would be, more Apple friendly. It knows I'm an Apple person. Just say, hey, you're one of us. But it was aloof. It was distant.
Distant as far as sound quality is concerned?
Well, distant. It sounded small, but then it sounded big. Sound quality changed a lot from when I changed one tune to the next to the next.
Right, and I think it's got something to do with the lobes, the system of like
right.
stereo sort of beams,
right,
which change depending on when you move the speaker around. But what are its best qualities?
Its size.
Okay.
I'm running out of best. If you're into the whole Apple ecosystem, it's a great thing.
What about bass response?
Makes a lot of bass for a very small speaker.
And I would say that is its best quality, more so than any of the other three speakers here. It has a surprising amount of bass.
Yes, quality, quantity, whatever.
I mean, this is a really good product if you want to stick it on your bench and you're cooking, or you're doing something like that. You need to ask Siri something. It's really good for that.
Absolutely.
Now, compared to something like the Google Home, how do you think it compares?
Size matters. It sounds like a bigger, more satisfying speaker. I mean, I imagine that some people who, especially would buy the Macs, want to party and have fun and stuff. And I think it's a more fun, can play louder, more rock and roll speaker.
Right. It also has a 3.5 millimeter input, which this doesn't.
I didn't know that.
So you can, I guess, hook it up to anything you want, like a TV. You could use it as a center speaker for your TV. Which is something you can't do for this or for the Sonos Ones.
Really?
But we've obviously compared all these three speakers. Which one is the winner for you?
The two ones actually are definitely my far and away favorite because they're the closest to sounding like, pardon the expression, hi-fi.
Right. So what is it about these that these can't do?
They're one.
Okay.
They're mono speakers. They just sounded more contained and sound like coming out of a box as opposed to sound filling a room.
Right. So what would you use the Sonos Ones for?
See, I can imagine the Sonos Ones being someone's home audio system as like, in terms of listening to music as opposed to just having it on as background. I would say the Sonos Ones would definitely fit that bill.
Right. Even if it was, say, on a side table or something, would you still buy, if you had a choice between any of these three products, if you wanted something that you could use for background music, would you still choose the ones?
For background music, I think they're all acceptable for background music, and if that's the priority, just to have sound, I would say the HomePod would be fine.
Right. I guess it depends on which ecosystem you're tied into.
That's true.
If you're in Google, you probably get this one. If you're with Apple, this one. This one's going to be the interesting product because coming this year sometime, you're going to get Google and Amazon. The problem with that being the mics aren't as sensitive as either of these two products.
Right. You were saying before we started that the voice recognition on the Sonos is...
Yeah, the microphones aren't as sensitive as either of these two products. That is this Apple HomePod's biggest claim to fame, apart from the bass response, is that its microphones are very sensitive and very good. But I think for me, for $350, the Sonos One is a really good product. And as you're saying, it's a great stereo replacement.